Welcome, Danny. Good to see you. Welcome, Lisa. And is that Scott in the background? Good to see you guys. Welcome, Joe. We're going to give a couple minutes for people to arrive. While we do so, here's a little exciting something. Ari has told me that he's happy to start the rapping right away. So if you throw out an animal, we can get a rap on that animal. I'll kick things off, and then we'll ask others as we go along. You got to think of a creative animal. Ari, is it only kosher animals, or is it all animals?
You go for it, whatever you want.
We got okay. Let's do hippopotamus.
I'm a hippopotamus standing on the bottom of this river, staying out of the sun because of how hot it is. Walking underwater because I'm too fat to float while birds use my back like a blubbery boat. I eat a mass of grass, and if I get harassed, I can move pretty fast on my big fat. I'm a 4-ton pile, the boss of the Nile, with the kind of smile that could kill a crocodile.
Love it. Danny, what you got? Let's get some. Sorry, you're muted.
Aardvark.
An aardvark? I'm an aardvark from Kruger National Park, a nocturnal creature. I feed in the dark, eating insects. Even though I'm pretty big, I could dig like a shrew who's the size of a pig, zigzag 10 miles just to find an anthill, then pop them like pills till I've had my fill. They're bite-sized bugs, but it's quite all right. I ate 50,000 termites last night.
Awesome. Yes, you got.
They really eat them. Yeah. All right. Lisa, what you got, Lisa? Give us an animal.
We go for a giraffe.
Okay, go for it. Giraffe.
I'm a giraffe. Don't laugh, because my neck's about half my whole body's height. If you do the math, 15 feet tall, weighing over a ton, but I can move 35 miles an hour when I run. If the lion's chasing, I can't win the race. I could still kill a cat with a kick to the face. So they usually just let me be eating pounds of leaves with my head in the tree.
All right.
Love it. I'll go for an alligator.
I'm a Everglade weighted 12-foot alligator. Granddad, take your hand off like Darth Vader. A long time ago in the late Cretaceous, I was in the same places and just as tenacious. Stay back, beware. I like my meat rare. Make a snack of a panther and a black bear. I'm a full-grown male, half-ton on the scale. I break your frail bones with the flail of my tail.
I love it. I love it. Phil, you want to give us an animal?
How about dodo while we're waiting?
Dodo bird, go for it.
Dodo. Let me just see. I might have done one of those, but I don't have it off the top. Let me just see if I can find it.
Anybody else wants to jump in here, feel free to type in the chat or unmute yourself and just shoot us an animal, and Ari will give us some.
I have a question.
Go for it.
I have a question. Have you thought out all the animals, or are you just making this up?
No, I've thought them out. Most of them I got memorized. Here's the dodo. I'm that flightless bird who you know as the dodo. You'll never see me, not even a photo. We lived on Mauritius, an island far off the coast to the east of Madagascar. At the top of the food chain, we had no trouble till humans dropped in and popped our bubble. There was nothing to fear, but then you came here and we all disappeared in 100 years.
Joe, let's get an animal. Any animal.
A lion.
A lion.
I'm an African lion with a golden mane, sitting on my throne atop the food chain, king of the pride. I'm the boss, getting paid just to lay in the shade 20 hours a day. I guard the lionesses living in my yard, so they keep me well fed, hustling hard. And when they drag home that deceased wildebeest, I always get to eat the lion's share of the feast.
I love it. Rabbi Eli, let's get an animal.
Alligator.
We just did the alligator.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got a different alligator for you though.
Oh, you got more than one.
Let me just I was working on a new alligator actually. This is fresh off the presses here. Let's just see if I can find it. It's
I can throw out another animal if you want.
No, I want to, yo. I'm an old gray alligator in the Everglades, still alive and well after 5 decades, 15 feet long, and I weigh half a ton, so I chomp through my swamp, afraid of no one. I'm a predatory reptile, eating what I wish, amphibian, invertebrate, bird, mammal, fish, big mouth in the south. Some find me rude, cause I take huge bites and don't chew my food.
I love it. I love it. Leon, give us an animal. Or Phil. Phil, you unmuted yourself. Go for it.
Yeah.
Leon's given us one. He's gave pigeon.
Who is?
Pigeon?
Leon.
Oh, Leon in the
Gave
chat. Yes, pigeon. Go for it. Thank you.
I'm that pigeon living on your block since I moved to New York with the rest of my flock. Might not be pretty, but I am pretty witty. I got the highest IQ in the inner city. East side to west, I'm an urban pest. I make a big old mess everywhere I nest. Flap around, snapping up fast food scraps while I drop bird on your baseball caps.
How
How
about
about an
python?
aardvark?
We did aardvark. We did
We did the
aardvark.
aardvark already.
Python.
Okay.
What is it?
Python.
A python. Let's see. Yeah, I was working on a python. Let me see if I got that.
Oh, so you got
I'm
aardvark so quick because it's top of the list.
There we go.
I'm
Hey.
no. Aardvark is memorized. This one's not memorized. Yeah, I'm that Burmese python in the trees, seizing and squeezing my prey with ease. Call me a constrictor, cause that's what I do, twisting like a corkscrew till you turn blue. 200 pounds, 23 feet long, almost all muscle, so you know I'm strong. And when I feel your last heartbeat is complete, I'll swallow you whole, cause it's time to eat.
Let's do,
Awesome.
let's do the leopard.
I'm a snow leopard, if you know what I mean. I might be spotted, but I won't be seen. Gone before long if things don't change, cause I'm endangered in my home range. Climbing slopes above the tree line might take some time. Very rare, even if I'm there, you won't know. The snow blends in with my hair.
Love it. Who's got another one for us? Irving, you want to give us an animal?
Turkey vulture.
Oh, I got a bearded vulture. You want a bearded vulture?
Sure, why not?
I'm a bearded vulture, highly revered. Although our culture may appear quite weird, the scope of my diet is very narrow. I eat about 90% bone marrow. I've just flown a bone my own size in the air to 400 feet and dropped it from there. Aim for the rocks, cause I know when it hits, it's sure to get smashed into bite-sized bits.
Love it. Before we continue, let me just make a quick announcement. As many of you have seen on the screen, tonight's event is not sponsored yet. We're looking for 10 sponsors, each of $54. If you're available to do that, you can visit the link on the screen. If you have an animal you'd like Ari to rap for us, please feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat box and we'll announce it. For now, Ari, we got another one, a gorilla.
I'm a mountain gorilla, the biggest primate, grade 8 with a straight quarter ton of weight. But I don't eat meat, just pounds of plants, some fruit and some roots and a handful of ants. I'm the silverback of the pack. I defend my friends with the strength of 10 grown men. Strong as King Kong, don't get me stressed, or I'll beat my chest and then beat you to death.
Love it. Marilyn, I don't see her in the screen there. Sean, you want to give us a... Give us an animal, or Irving?
How about a dog?
Oh,
A dog?
yeah.
One sitting
Yeah.
right next to me.
A few people have mentioned that, yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
Oh,
domestic.
did you already do that? Okay.
I'm a domestic dog, and my family
There
is
you go.
mutts. We bark in the park while sniffing dog butts. I'll roll in the trash, dig a big old hole, and then drink a whole gallon from the toilet bowl. I'm a man's best friend, but he's kind of a grouch in the doghouse now because I messed up the couch. I was locked at home all day on my own, and I had to pee, so please throw me a bone.
Love it, love it. Who else has got an animal? Someone in the chat, or unmute yourself, please. Stephanie, what you got?
A seagull.
Oh, I actually don't have a seagull, so that's
Sorry.
my first time. No, good job, good. Hey, you
How about
You
an
got your work cut out
elephant?
for you.
How about an elephant?
Well, I'm a big fella caught an African elephant. I never forget, cause I'm highly intelligent, smart as Columbo. My brain is jumbo, though these big old ears make me look like Dumbo. No, I don't fly, I'm down on the ground, cause I'm carrying around 12,000 pounds, a lot of junk in my trunk, but don't make fun. One thrust from my 8-foot tusks and you're done.
Love it. Who's next? Feel free to unmute yourself. Give us an animal, and we'll get a couple more, and then we'll start the program. Mark, you want to give us something? What do we got? No one? Oh, here we go. A squirrel in the chat. Judith Ginsburg gives us a squirrel. Go for it.
I'm a gray squirrel with a big bushy tail. I'll scale any tree with my sharp toenails. I'm a half-meter long acorn eater, repeat offender stealing seed out your bird feed. I searched all around the yards in your town. Any food that I found is buried underground. I'm saving up nuts for a rainy day. I got thousands of stashes squirreled away.
Wow. How about a fox?
Yeah.
I'm a gray fox, so I hide in my den till I sneak through the fence when I steal your hen. I hunt at dusk and I hunt at dawn for any kind of food I could get my paws on. From across a football field, I can hear the squeak of a rodent loud and clear, so I creep till I leap over 15 feet to land on that mouse I'm about to eat.
Good, good. How about a python?
We did that.
Oh, you did it?
Beaver. How about a beaver?
A beaver? I'm a beaver taking a swim in the lake. If you make me mad, that's a big mistake, because my teeth are a lethal weapon in battle, and I'll slap you with my tail like a ping pong paddle. Want to stay intact? You better just stay back while I chew through these trees like a lumberjack, cramming wood underwater to make a log jam that'll stop up the river, because I do give a damn.
Good, good. Very good.
That's awesome. All right, let's get another one or two, and then we'll start the program. What do you guys say?
Skunk.
How about a possum?
I heard a skunk, right? Is that what?
Yeah, I heard a skunk too. Go for it.
Yo, I'm a skunk, so I could bring the funk. If you get too close to that junk in my trunk, I'll do a handstand, hit you with my anal glands. You want to eat me? Change your dinner plans. Don't play, walk away. My spray just reeks. You won't stink for days. You'll stink for weeks. When you see me in black, white stripe on my back, you better think twice if you think I'm a snack.
Very good.
How about a horse?
A horse? I'm a horse, of course. I can move with force, a 40-mile-an-hour pace on the race course. I can round up cattle wearing shoes and a saddle. I'm the steed with the speed you need to do battle. A bronco, yippee-yi-yo, hold on as I blow through my foes like Genghis Khan, saying, nay, I'm better stay out the way, weighing half a ton, eating hay all day.
Okay, we'll take two more. Let's take two more.
Camel. A camel.
Well,
Shirley
I'm a
says a camel.
dromedary and Arabian camel, one hump, two-toed, half-ton mammal. That lump of fat on my back keeps me going where no plants growing and no rivers flowing. Caravan through the sand on 100-mile trip in the dry desert heat. Still, I don't need a sip, but when I arrive where that water's at, I could drink 30 gallons in 10 minutes flat.
Yay.
So let's take one more. One more.
That's great, huh?
Joy, you want to give us one?
Here. One more.
Joy, can you give us one?
A lemur.
A lemur. Yeah, I got that. Let's see. I'm a lemur, almost 13, queen of the troop. I'm known to be mean. I'll beat my man if he talks back to me. Bite his face, chase him straight up a tree. I'm the top female, a lot of rings on my tail, leaving trails of blood with these fingernails. But when the fighting's done, I just want to have fun eating tamarind fruit while I bathe in the sun.
All right. Thank you very, very much. We are going to get the program started, so we'll ask everyone to please mute yourselves. We're going to do some more of this fun, by the way, at the end. This was just kind of a warm-up as we get the program started. We're going to do it at the end of today's program. We'll do the characters from Bereshit, which means that you can throw any person that you remember, any man, woman, animals too, I guess, from Bereshit.
Yeah, go for it. Throw
Yeah,
other animals in there too.
We'll do that at the end of the program. We'll do that. Whether it's from this week's parsha, last week's parsha, or any of the parshas coming up, in the entire book of Genesis. So stick around till the end for this fun. I want to start off tonight's program by welcoming Chabad of Northridge and Chabad of Pasadena, two communities that are very dear to my heart. Chabad of Northridge, I spent many, many years there when I was single, and I still come there all the time. Chabad of Pasadena, of course, the locals here. So welcome to everyone. I see lots of old friends, new friends. Welcome to Rabbi Meraza from Valencia, to Eva Selsky, who just joined us, Bill Wershba, Carrie Eckert. Thank you all for joining us. Sorry I can't name everyone. But we are trying to keep this a little bit more Hamish, so we didn't open it up to the wider public. But and then again, welcome to all those on Facebook. This is streaming live on Facebook as well. So if towards the end of the evening, if we're starting to get full, and you know if someone would like to join us and they can't get in because the room is full, they can always catch it on Facebook on my Facebook page. As I mentioned earlier, this evening is not sponsored yet. I mean, at this point, it's partially sponsored. We're looking for 10, as you can see on the screen, we're looking for 10 sponsors at $54 each. If you're available to do that, please visit the link there and submit your sponsorship. On that note, a few thank yous that are in order before we get started. I always start every evening that we do here at the Pasadena Jewish Academy by thanking Chabad of Pasadena and Rabbi Chaim and Chani Hanoka. I noticed they haven't logged in yet. I know that they're busy with something, but really everything that we do here would not be possible without the amazing community that they built. The physical infrastructure, the community infrastructure, the social infrastructure, etc. So a tremendous thank you goes to them, to Rabbi Chaim and Chani Hanoka and all the other rabbis here, rabbis and rebbitzins here. Another big thank you goes to Rabbi Eli and Sippy Rifkin of Chabad of Northridge for helping partner with us in this event. We'll be live for the next couple hours. So if you know of someone, well, probably an hour and an hour and a half. So if you know of someone that would like to join us, please feel free to send them the link. The link is pasadenajewishacademy.com/Zoom, and they can join us. And of course, a big thank you to our sponsors, those that have already sponsored and those that will. Thank you in advance. One quick announcement before we get started, which is the Pasadena Jewish Academy, the organization that's hosting this event. We here at the Academy, we just mailed out our brochures, which means our catalog of all of our events for the entire year. If you're in the Chabad of Pasadena community or from my friends at Chabad of Northridge, you'll probably be receiving one already. If you aren't and you feel like you might not be on the list and you'd like to get put on the list, please feel free to visit pasadenajewishacademy.com and you'll see the details there. Okay, so Soul Library, a brand new program that we are debuting tonight. Actually, over the course of this year, Chabad of Pasadena and Chabad of Northridge will be hosting 10 different souls, Jewish souls, people from all around the world. As much as we don't like Zoom, because we'd love to be in person, one of the things that's magical about Zoom is that we can really connect all around the world. We are going to be doing this 10 times over the course of the year. Let me give you a little bit of the schedule here, even though it doesn't have dates, but at least you can see kind of some of the people that we're looking forward to. Ari Lesser, a Jewish rapper. Gita Ryle is a Holocaust survivor. Chaim Danziger is a rabbi in a war zone in Rostov on the Don River at the border of Ukraine and Russia. And he also has his roots here in Pasadena. I'm sure many of you know him. He'll be joining us. Michal Muchnik is a Jewish artist, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with much of his work. Sarah Wolkenfeld, or they actually may have just changed it. It might be Brett Luxpizer. Either way, one of the founders of Sefaria, an online ongoing experiment to digitize the entire Torah and all Torah that exists in the world, the Talmud and everything. Matas Devlin is a rabbi who used to be an altar boy. That should be an interesting story. Avrami Stelik is known as the Jewish Indiana Jones. He's very involved in the world of archaeology and specifically as it pertains to Jewish history. Yitzchak Hanoka is one of the leading rabbis on the OK. If you ever see any products with an OK kosher symbol on it. In fact, recently here in Los Angeles, the Kehila kosher has been bought out by the OK, so lots of our restaurants and our foods here are under the OK. So that will be an evening where you'll be able to ask them all sorts of questions on kosher. And Moshe Biton is a good friend of mine that I met while I was doing some Chabad work in Caracas, Venezuela. And his is a story of teenage rebellion, but a good type of rebellion where he became religious, and there's all sorts of interesting things about his stories. He's very musical, etc. So please join us throughout the year. The next one Gitta Ryle, survivor of the Holocaust, which and there's lots of other fascinating details which we'll get to at the time, will be on November 15th. So if you'd like to mark your calendars, it'll be Sunday, November 15th at 7 p.m. Please join us right here. Same link here on Zoom. All right, I think we are ready to get started. So welcome to Ari Lesser. Ari, I've been a big fan for a very, very long time. Subscriber to your YouTube channel from before there were thousands and thousands of us, and a big fan of your talents. And I wanted people to get a taste of it. I know a few people have only just joined us. So why don't we start off by, I was once at a lecture where a rabbi was lecturing. Before he started his lecture, he asked everybody to sing a song together because there's something about the power of music that really gets people warmed up. So Zoom doesn't really allow for us all to sing together. But why don't you get us started with a song, maybe to introduce yourself or something like that?
I'd love to, and I'm really grateful and happy to be here and joining you for this this evening, getting to kick off this series. So thanks for making me the first. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ari. You know I'm a party Jew, Ashkenazi, but I still love a Sparty Jew, a fast rapping Jew, that toe tapping Jew. I'ma get the whole crowd to start clapping Jew, a free thinking Jew, l'chaim drinking Jew, with the beard and hat like Abe Lincoln Jew, wearing a suit Jew, keeping kashrut Jew. Hashem's the only one I salute Jew. I'm a singing Jew, CD slinging Jew, one of the last few at the Fabringing Jew. I'm that Chabad Jew, that loving God Jew. And some people might say I'm an odd Jew. Spin that dreidel Jew, a prenatal Jew, a my Ema never wore no shadel Jew. I'm a Semitic Jew, purebred genetic Jew. If I wronged you, I'm an apologetic Jew. I'm a bald tshuva Jew, that kind of newer Jew, still trying to learn just how to do a Jew. An old soul Jew with self-control Jew. On Shabbos, you know I don't roll Jew, cause I'm a true Jew, not a voodoo Jew. I'm that never gonna get a tattoo Jew, a verifiable Jew, member of the tribal Jew. I don't read part 2 of the Bible Jew, a straight Torah Jew, down to Makorah Jew, with my soul shining light bright as a menorah Jew. A Maccabee Jew, totally free Jew, dancing like Miriam at the Red Sea Jew. A rhyme saying Jew, mitzvah obeying Jew, 3 times a day, every day praying Jew, wearing a keeper Jew, a thinking deeper Jew, saying Shema when I wake and go to sleep a Jew, cause I'm that wise Jew, that circumcised Jew, tefillin on my arm and in between my eyes Jew. I'm that talit Jew with tzitzit Jew. On Yom Kippur, I never eat Jew. I'm that Sukkot Jew, a Shavuot Jew. On Passover, only matzot Jew. I'm that Shabbat Jew, chillin' his spot Jew. I got that cholent that's hot out the pot Jew. Holy Land Jew with clean hands Jew. Always trying to do Hashem's commands Jew. I'm a yeshiva Jew, overachiever Jew. A spitting flows that'll make you a believer Jew. Orthodox Jew, outside the box Jew. Take a bagel but no cream cheese or lox Jew. Cause I'm a vegan Jew, not a meat eating Jew. Trying to get back to the garden and eating Jew. That long hair Jew, I'm a Nazir Jew. With a full beard when I look in the mirror Jew. No drinking wine Jew, one of a kind Jew. The only funeral I go to is mine Jew. Till death grips me Jew. I'm that gypsy Jew. And if it's Purim, I'm a pretty tipsy Jew. I'm that mystic Jew, that Kabbalistic Jew, that strictly monotheistic Jew, a rhyme writing Jew. I'm the enlightened Jew, a sick of all the hatred and fighting Jew, a love and peace Jew in the Middle East Jew, just praying for the violence to cease Jew, cause I'm a kind Jew, higher state of mind Jew, don't want no stumbling block before the blind Jew. I'm a forgiving Jew, a still living Jew, every day celebrating Thanksgiving Jew.
Thank you, Ari. Wow. So let's kick off this interview. I mean, that song alone gives me a lot of questions about you. I mean, I know you're Jewish. That was pretty clear from the song. Why don't you start us at the beginning? Where does your family come from? What was it like growing up, young Ari Lesser growing up? What was that like?
Yeah, so I was raised in Cleveland, Ohio, Cleveland Heights, and I went to public school for elementary school. I spent about 2 years in high school at a experimental Jewish high school, and so that was. Sorry, say
No, I'm gonna mute everyone. Sorry, that's just some background noise. Go ahead.
So I was exposed to some Jewish ideas there, some Chumash and a little bit of Talmud and a little bit of Hebrew, but a very, very limited Jewish education growing up, and certainly was not the focus of my family, was not the focus of me by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I was like most American kids, Jewish or not. That I was more interested in music and friends and all that kind of stuff that teenagers and younger kids enjoy. So it really wasn't. It wasn't until I got to high school that I started doing music at all. I always enjoyed listening to music, but once I got to high school, then I started actually writing some songs, and that came about because the high school I graduated from was called Cleveland Heights High. It's about 80% African American, and the music that was going on in my school was almost all hip hop. That was just every hallway you go down, they're just bumping hip hop everywhere you go. And I had been raised listening to like jazz and classic rock and reggae and not so much hip hop, even though I obviously you get exposed to it. And it wasn't until I got there that I really got into hip hop more and started to appreciate its power as a storytelling medium. So when I was in biology class one day, I just decided, I'm just going to write a rap as a joke. I'm just going to mess around. I'm just going to write a rap. We had a substitute. She wasn't teaching us anything interesting. So I just decided, so I just wrote this rap, and it was kind of making fun of gangster rap. It was a Jewish gangster rap. I was just using like stereotypes of Jews and stereotypes of gangster rap, and I just put it all together. And I wrote this Jewish gangster rap, and it was really done as a joke. And I shared it with my friends, and they're like, "Damn, that was so hard." They were blown away. They were just so into it, and it just made me think like, wow, if this thing I spent half an hour working on in biology class, people really like that. If I put my mind to this and spent some more time writing and thinking about what I was going to say, then maybe I could do this professionally, right? So I really always tell people like that initial positive feedback was so important, because can you imagine? I mean, if I had shared that with my friends, they're like, "Shut up, man, that's stupid." If that had been, that was my first rap. If that had been my say again, Rabbi.
I said if that had been the first reaction, that probably would have shut everything down right there.
It totally would have. And, I tell kids this all the time when I do stuff in schools, that's like, it's so important if your friends are coming up to you and they're sharing something with you, you really could change their entire life by either coming with the negative or positive, feedback.
You got to spread positivity. There's no question. That's a very powerful message throughout your music. It's not just your origin and your background, it's also throughout your music. Do you remember those first lyrics that you
oh yeah, and they're absolutely terrible. I will not share them with you today at all. I mean, it's totally terrible, inappropriate. I mean, that's the funniest part about it, is it was actually really bad. And like still though, because I got the positive feedback on the bad rap I did, it eventually
that led to all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they say with Torah, it's like if you do it for the wrong reason, you're eventually going to come to do it for the right reason. So it's similar to that with the music for me. It's like at first I did it for the wrong reason. It was bad. But you know what? Eventually it did lead to me using it for a better reason,
Okay. And by the way, that's it's an interesting place to start. Rap and hip hop and Judaism don't often cross paths, if you know what I mean. The hip hop genre in general is not exactly the cleanest environment. They've been criticized in general in the public space for encouraging violence and that sort of thing, or even just filthy language and that kind. I'm curious. I'm sure. I hope you don't mind my asking this, but I'm sure you've gotten this question: is maybe the genre? Have you ever considered maybe if the genre is not the right medium, or to you this is?
Well, so like take a step back. I mean, I was writing, these songs, poems, raps, whatever you want to call them, for a good 6-7 years before I even,
Thought of
scratched
that.
the surface of Judaism, anything. So, to begin with, it's not even shaykh at all. I mean, I was personally in a low place, and so of course I'm gonna enjoy this lowly music, and I'm gonna, really get into it. And I think it was actually good because those 6-7 years that I first started writing these raps, I was kind of writing about, not always bad things. Sometimes it'd be a political. I did a lot of political stuff. I did lots of just sort of social justice kind of things. I did historical pieces. I did just positive vibes.
Star Wars.
But also Star Wars. Yeah. Also pop culture, party music, just some of it was just nonsense. And I think it's good that I spent so many years writing about the nonsense, because by the time I started to write songs about Torah, I was already really good at doing it. I think unfortunately the problem is, like, a lot of people, whenever you start a craft, whatever it is, you're not actually that great at it. And
no matter what you're doing, and no matter
what you're doing. I mean, sure, there's examples of there's prodigies who they're just born and they do. I'm not a prodigy. That's not my path. I spent many years, at this point, I've over half my life, I've been writing songs, and I can tell you the songs of the early years, they don't see the light of day anymore because they are not good. They're not good. There's like every once in a while, it's like a needle in a haystack. Like if I go back 10 years, there's maybe like 1, 2, 3 songs I'm still singing now.
Right. Okay, so let's move on with the story. So when was the first time that you kind of started searching for more, or how did your Jewish journey develop? Because you said you grew up with kind of not that much of a Jewish background, of course, traditional Jewish home, a little bit of Judaism, but when did that start to enter your life?
Yes, so I went to college, the University of Oregon, which not really a thriving Jewish community in Eugene, Oregon, and
There's a Chabad there now.
What?
There's a Chabad there now.
There was when I was there too. I mean, and he was a good guy. Asi Spiegel is a very good guy, but that was not what I was into. I think I remember. It's funny. I just thought of this. Like when I first got there, I think Yom Kippur was like one of the first days that I was like a freshman on campus. That's
was it even on your calendar at that point?
What
was Yom Kippur?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, with my minimal. We still, as a family, recognize this Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, high holidays. Everybody knows about high holidays. And I even wanted to keep some semblance of it, but it fell on like a Friday or Saturday night. It was like the first big party weekend. It was like, what? I'm gonna sit home and fast as I just got to college for the first. But I said, I'm not gonna eat. I'll just drink. So that was my Yom Kippur of my freshman year in college. I drank a lot, but I didn't eat anything. So that shows you where I was holding in college, and really throughout my whole college life. And it was only at college I really took the music to the next level, and I started working with different bands and artists, and doing a lot of performances around town. And then in the summers I started traveling the West Coast music festival scene, and I would go Washington, Oregon, California, all over, up and down the West Coast. I'd spend 3 months straight just traveling up and down the West Coast, hitting up these festivals, varying between a couple hundred to tens of thousands of people, depending on which one you go to. And some of them I was performing, other ones I just would go and slang my CDs and rap for people in the parking lot. And sometimes I'd do a lot better just rapping in the parking lot of a big festival than I would like performing at a small one.
That seems to be a consistent theme from throughout your career. I mean, the rapping on the parking lot and the rapping on the fly, etc. You want to tell us about Ari's 31 flavors? That was a thing.
Sure. Yeah. So I actually found in my basement. You guys get to see the progression. So this is the original Ari's 31 flavors right here. Let's see if you can
tell
see
us
that.
about it. Tell people what it is.
So Ari's 31 flavors. This was an idea I had once I had enough songs to have a catalog, right? I thought, really even before I started, I had 13 songs. I had 13 songs. I was working for a student organization, and we're trying to raise money for our project, whatever. I went out on the corner of campus and I had a list of like 13 songs, and I just stood out there and I was like, yo, come donate to our student organization. And, if you do, I'll rap one of these songs for you. You can pick it off the list, right? Whatever you're interested in. I got 13 songs. You pick one. And, I made like, I don't know, $60 in an hour sitting out there. And I don't know if you ever tried to get a job on campus, but making $60 in an hour is not something that you can really do on a college campus. Like, they don't have good jobs over there. So, so that made me think, wow, I could actually make some money doing this. And then I wrote more and more songs, and eventually I had 31 songs. Kind of like, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors. So I thought of the idea, I'll do Ari's 31 flavors. I'll make a list of my 31 songs, and I would wear it. I would literally, like, if you can see, there's little hole punches on this thing. And I would wear it on my chest, and I'd go around at music festivals, and I would ask people, you want to pick a song? And I would sing songs for free. Songs were always free. I would not charge. And I would just have a whole backpack full of CDs to sell. So
right.
that's really how. Say again?
And ideally, it would lead to a sale.
Exactly. Ideally, it leads to, sometimes not. But, it leads to other good things, other connections, and other things like that. And so this was the original Ari's 31 flavors. If
but
you can
still,
see.
none of these songs are Jewish yet.
Let's see if we got. Yeah, no, none of these are Jewish.
Nothing. Right. This is where.
And then we got here's like the next phase. So this was like the upgrade. This was probably at the end of college. Maybe this is like 4 years in.
Oh, wow. Who was doing the artwork?
Different people. Different people did each of my signs. Just different good friends that wanted to support what I do. Here's like a next generation. This one was bigger. I was trying to like
kind of laminated. Wow.
Go wide. It had to be laminated because if it starts raining, I can't have my sign getting ruined. I'll be out there in the parking lot wearing this thing. So always had to be laminated. So now here's where we start getting into some more of the Jewish stuff. Right now we got the spheros, right? We got the 10 spheros, and this one's double-sided. So actually one side of this was all like Jewish themed things, and then the other side is more, I guess,
depending on the crowd that you were catering.
Exactly. I could flip it. I'll see, what's this crowd into? And then I could just flip it, whoever I wanted to target. And then this is the last one that I made. This was when I was in Tzfat and Yeshiva. This one is kind of like a Choshen Mishpat. It's got the gems. And so that is, you can see the generation. You guys want to try? Someone want to pick a song?
Yeah, I also love that they're not really songs. They're just like, they're just words, really, and you got to think about that. Why don't we do the 4 holy cities?
The 4 holy cities. All right.
You got all of these on the top of your mind. You don't need lyrics.
No, I got that. You saw for some of those animals, I had to look. A dodo bird, I didn't have that off the top. But before holy cities, I got you. Baruch Hashem, for by God's hand, He brought me home and let me stand in the fire and the water and the wind and the sand. The 4 holy cities of the Holy Land. Hebron, the earth as low as it goes. Tavaria, the H2O that flows. Tzfat, the air where we can't get higher. In Yerushalayim, that burning fire. Well, there ain't no spot like the city. It's Tzfat where the very air carries holy thoughts. With the view we got from the mountaintop, you can't see a lot, but you can see a lot. Asleep on top of the roof on a cot outside in the summer when the sun gets hot. The mikvah of the Ari does not take a dip before Kabbalah Shabbat. Take it from me, it's the place to be when the sun sets on Yom HaShishi. Sing Lachadodi on Rehov Ari. We welcome Shabbat like she's royalty. From the top of the Metzudah, you can see from Mount Meron to the Sea of Galilee, the deepest valley and the tallest tree in the territory of Naphtali. Well, if you pass away, you won't be alone. If your tombstone winds up in Hebron, Lifnei Mam Reba Sadeh Ephron, home where the oldest grave that's known. 4 pairs lie there in Kiryat Arba, buried in the cave of Machpelah. Adam, Chava, Abraham, Sarai, Yitzchak, Rivka, Yaakov, Leah. All of our ancestors, they spent some time where Abraham pitched his tent, where Yitzchak stayed, and Yaakov went to the place from which Yosef was sent, where Caleb conquered the giants' fleet and the people anointed King David. And some say it may be the doorway leading back to the gates of the Garden of Eden. Baruch Hashem, for by God's hand, He brought me home and let me stand in the fire and the water and the wind and the sand. The 4 holy cities of the Holy Land. Heron, the earth as low as it goes to vary the H2O that flows. Spot the air where you can't get higher, and Jerusalem, that burning fire. If the Torah's like water, no place has more than to vary that city sitting on the seashore. Somewhere it's known as the Sea of Galilee, but they call it the Canary if you're living locally. It's the biggest mikveh in the Holy Land. Strip down, take a dip, you're like a brand new man. You could stand in the place where the Sanhedrin sat, and if you're looking for the sages, that's where they're at. Got Rebbe Akiva, Rebbe Yochanan, Rebbe Meir Balanes, and the great Rambam. So many wise men rest in peace on the ancient streets of that town near the beach, where the words of Hashem flow down low and fill every hole like H2O. How deep does it go? No man can tell if he ever hit the bottom of Miriam's well. And no higher fire has ever been seen in the flame that came from behind the screen. Bakodesh Kadashim, between the cherubim in the old city of Yerushalayim. Isaiah the prophet, he saw in a dream at the end of days, all regimes will stream to the house of Hashem, who shall reign supreme in between Yehuda and Benjamin. Now it's well known that our family's bones are buried beneath those ancient stones, but for so many years they've been forced to roam. Now strangers think they own our home, so I moan and groan to God alone. Please move that dome off our hearts he own. Put a good king on David's throne. Bless us with Sason and Shalom.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I do feel like we jumped ahead a little bit because clearly,
We did.
this song was composed when your Jewish journey had already begun. So why don't you walk us through, when is the first time you start thinking Yom Kippur is probably not a drinking day and it's time to get a little closer to Hashem? When does that start?
So
I guess as part of that, part of that, tell us about your journey to Eretz Israel, because from what I understand, when you were at the University of Oregon, you had never been to Israel.
I had not. No, I had not. So
here you are wrapping the four holy cities. So tell us.
Right. So we'll fill in the gaps here. So it's really, the first step was, like I said, I was traveling around for about 4 years, music festivals, selling CDs. After I graduated from college that summer, I of course did the same thing, traveling around festivals, and I knew I wanted to pursue music. I loved doing it, and thank God I was making some money doing it. And I was like, what, even if it's not a ton of money, I'm going to do what I love, and it's getting me by. Why would I do anything else? So I'm just kind of doing the same thing I've been doing, wearing the sign you saw, the Always Throw on Flavors, hustling and selling CDs in the parking lots. And I just finished school, so I didn't have any other agenda. And I got this call from a guy, Patrick Duff was his name, and he was from Los Angeles, actually, Silver Lake. And he had gone up to Northern California to a music festival that I was performing at, and had bought one of my CDs. And when he got back home, he listened to the CD, and he was just really into my message, my lyrics. But the CD was totally unprofessional. I mean, it was just me rapping. There was no music. There was nothing. And he liked my content and wanted to, take it to the next level. So he offered to fly me down to LA and finance the whole project, basically. And it was perfect timing, since I was done with school and I didn't have another thing to do. So I just took him up on it, and I flew down to LA. So it turns out this guy, he's a Rastafarian. You guys know Rastafarians? I'm sure in LA you got. So Rastafarians, if you don't know, I like to compare like this. They're Rebbe. So their Rebbe, he was the emperor of Ethiopia. That's really who their Rebbe was. A guy named Haile Selassie. Now, some of them are kind of almost like it's like a Vodazara. They think he's like God. Others, they really see him more like a wise, Rebbe kind of figure. And they believe that he's a direct descendant of King Solomon through the Queen of Sheba, which is the famous story in the Tanakh, where the Queen of Sheba visits King Solomon with all these gifts, and says he gave her everything she desired and she returned to her country. So it doesn't explicitly say they had any children, but according to the Rastafarians, she went back to her country pregnant, and that the whole royal lineage of Ethiopia for basically up until modern times has been that lineage that, according to them, is from King Solomon. So I I fly down to LA. This Rastafarian guy, his business is actually, he's got a medical marijuana dispensary. That's what he does in Silver Lake. It was called Liberty Bell Temple. And for them, it's not really even just like a business. It was like they really get into the marijuana as like a spiritual thing. That's why they call it a temple. It was like their sacred herb. And they had, you walk in the front door of the place, Liberty Bell Temple, which, by the way, I was staying literally in the dispensary. Like, they had a patient's lounge, and the bed, like the couch folded out into a bed. That was my bed. So he
didn't just hire you. He like really took you under his wing.
Oh no, yeah. He flew me down there, and obviously he was going to get a percentage of all the CD sales since he's financing the project. But yeah, no, he flew me down there. He was putting me up in his dispensary. He was paying for all the studio time, paying for the musicians. I mean, he took me under his wing for sure. And so at this place, you got a picture. You walk in the front door. They got this big table with like 35 different kinds of marijuana all laid out on the table in big mason jars. But then on each corner of the table, they have stacks of the book of Psalms and Proverbs that they would give out to everybody who came in. Anyone who wanted, they would just take a book of Psalms. Just an English translation, I think, one of the Christian translations, but it wasn't the New Testament. It was specifically Psalms and Proverbs, because they really feel a kesher, like a connection to the Davidic dynasty specifically, and so that was. I'm living in this place. I'm working on new music and new songs and new ideas, and I started flipping through these books. I'm hanging out there all day. I start flipping through a book of Psalms. It's just on the table there. They're giving it out to everyone. Like, what's this all about? And I had a conception of what the Psalms were, being raised in a Jewish family. I've heard of the Psalms, and I would say most people, if I was to say, one word, if I say Psalms, what's the first word that pops in your head? I'd say 90% of people, they would say hallelujah, right? That's like, you think Psalms, you think hallelujah. That's and actually, even in Orthodox Judaism, the Psalms we read most are the ones in the davening every day, and those are the hallelujah ones.
Absolutely.
But if you start flipping,
the Talmud mentions that word doesn't appear in Psalms until way later, and there's a reason for that. There's a whole episode which we won't get into now, but what inspired that?
Oh,
so
yeah?
It took in the Talmud and Bracha talks about this, that the word hallelujah, which is, like you said, probably one of the most famous words in Psalms, needed certain experiences in order to bring that out of King David. We can talk about that another time. I'll let you tell your story. Go ahead.
So, right, it's like the conclusion of the whole book. Like, that, it literally is. It's like 45 through 50 are like hallelujah. And, once I started flipping through the Psalms, I realized that actually they're like much, much heavier and much darker in a lot of ways. And as I'm, reading through these ancient, I started to realize, even from the lyrics themselves, they're songs. A lot of them will say, they'll even have references to the instruments you're playing while you're singing. They're clearly songs, and they're lyrics, and they had these themes that actually reminded me a lot of gangster rap, which is something that I was doing, because
I have to say, probably out of all the people that I've read Tehillim, you're the first one to look at it and say, this is gangster rap. But okay.
Well, no, I'm not. No, I'm not, because you know what? There's like a very famous, I think it's Coolio, as I walk through the valley in the shadow of death. I mean, that's super.
Okay, so you're not the first one. Okay, go ahead.
He pulled it right out of Psalms. But that's not, that's only one line. I mean, there's other ones. He's surrounded by enemies. They got, teeth like swords and spears, and he's in the surrounded by lions, and they're chasing after him all day, and he hasn't done anything wrong. You could totally see this in like a hip hop music video. The guy's, running away from his enemies. And it just struck me like, wow, this would be really cool to take these ancient songs, which I knew were from actually my people. I was not a Rastafarian. I never was into the Rastafarian, faith, but I knew that the Psalms come from Jewish culture and Jewish tradition. So that appealed to me even more. Like, wow, this is almost like the ancient songbook of my people.
Well, it's true.
And I had done different historical projects at the time where I'd taken, for example, I took a Martin Luther King speech, and I rhymed it and made it into a rap, or I had taken different historical characters and sort of written biographical songs about them. So when I first started, tackling the Psalms, working with the Psalms, that's what I had in my head. Like, this is going to be like a historical update of this ancient song. It wasn't as a religious spiritual project. That's not how I got into the Psalms. It was more like a historical, this would be a cool thing to bring this out in the world. This 3,000-year-old lyric, these 3,000-year-old lyrics, and so I started to do it. I started to rhyme, actually go line by line in the Psalms, and just like, it was like a puzzle. How am I going to say what it's saying here, but make it rhyme? And I once I got maybe 4 or 5 of them down, then I started to do my normal process, which is once I have a song written and it's finished, I'm like, okay, it's good. I'm not going to change the lyrics anymore. Then I start to embed it in my brain, right? And you can see from all these signs I have here, I mean, I have hundreds of songs that I have at this point
thousands
embedded in my brain. And that process involves me basically repeating it over and over and over again. First, I have to read it because I don't know it. But then once I have it memorized, I still have to keep repeating it to get it smooth, to get it to really flow. And so I was like walking around the streets of Los Angeles and just repeating these Psalms that I was planning to record or perform at, one of my upcoming events or shows. And I was sort of struck by an interesting realization that every song that I had ever written, and I think almost every song that you'll hear really, is written by the author with the intent of being performed for an audience, right? That's pretty much why people write songs. They write the song because they're going to perform it for the audience. And of course, the audience is a crowd of people, right? Or a group of people or a couple of people, whatever it is, it's people. And these Psalms were different. The Psalms were different because the audience of most of the Psalms, if you read the text, is not a group of people, but it's actually God. It's Hashem. And it was a concept that was very foreign to me at the time. The idea that you would just talk to God like God is your audience. And
like one-on-one with him or something.
Yeah, even I was a very spiritual person even before this. And I really, believed in a sort of like oneness, right? If you asked me at that time, like, what's Judaism all about? It's all about oneness, right? And for me, that oneness it's like everything. It's the universe. It's the whole thing. And it, at the same time, I didn't really think of it as a sentient being, though, right? It's a oneness. We're all part of it, but it's not actually like a sentient being. But then you start reading the Psalms, and he makes some pretty good points in there. And he's like, you really think like the one who made the eye can't see, and the one who made the ear can't hear, and the one who made the mouth can't taste? It's like, wow, that's kind of like, yeah, like I have this super high-tech eyeball in my face, and I didn't do anything to create it. It just like is here. And yet I somehow believe that God or whatever that is can't see, right? That was. And so I start questioning just the way I'm thinking about what is God? What is this? What is this?
All happening on your own while you're at the dispensary. In other words, no outside influence. Like there's no rabbi who you had met or you had spoken to. This is literally, you pick up King David's, the Sweet Singer of Israel's oldest book in the world. And, right? And okay.
Yeah, well, it's really King David. He is the rabbi. He's the rabbi.
Yeah, to me, that's fascinating that your rabbi, like if anyone asks you, who's your rabbi and who inspired you to come back to Judaism, I think King David is the one who gets all
it is. No, and I tell people that all the time. I say, my rabbi is King David. He really makarov me through his songs directly.
You really so before you keep going, why don't you choose any psalm? And I mean,
why don't you choose a psalm?
I was gonna say, do you have all 150 of them?
No, but pick something from davening. I should.
Okay, why don't you do that one that you were mentioning, the one from Hallel, It must be 130 something or
No, from you're saying from Shachris, from
eyes
like
bakanat here, eyes bakanat see, ears bakanat hear.
oh no, let's that's not in davening. That's like
Right, it's not in davening, right?
no, pick one from like Psukkah Zimra or from
Okay, so let's do the third Hallelujah.
the third Hallelujah. So that's what 147, 147 or
I would think, yeah,
147. Okay. Since our God is good, let's sing. Since praise is pleasantly befitting Hashem, who builds up Jerusalem, the outcasts of Israel he gathers in, healing up all those who break their hearts. He bandages their ache, counting the amount of stars. He calls a different name to each of them all. With abundant strength, our God is great. His insight we cannot calculate, covering the sky with clouds, bringing rain to the earth, making mountains sprout with grain, providing each animal as bread to the young raven that cries to be fed. For horsepower he has no need. He's not impressed by a man with speed. Hashem desires those who fear him, those who yearn for the kindness near him. Jerusalem, praise Hashem alone. Glorify your God, O Zion, for he strengthened the bars of your gates, he did. And in your midst he blessed your kids, surrounding your boundary with peace while you eat your fill as he feeds you the finest wheat. To earth he sends his sayings down. His word is quick to get around. As though it's fleece he gives out snow like ash. He scatters frost below when he hurls his ice like some dry old breadcrumbs. Who can withstand his cold? When he sends his word, the wind it blows, melting the snow so water flows. His words to Yaakov he did tell, his decrees and judgments to Israel. For no other nation did he do so, and so such laws they do not know.
Thank you, Ari. Wow. You know, one fascinating thing to me about every time you sing, especially if it's something that I know from Jewish literature or hear it's from Jewish liturgy, is that it's almost like you're not missing any of the words. It's almost like every single word of the psalm is in there, but somehow it rhymes, and King David didn't write them in English.
Yeah, so it's funny because you might hear two of my songs and they come across very similar, but actually a song like that, and say the first one I did about I'm a Jew, they're totally different writing processes. One is very much a creative process, right? Where I'm coming up, what am I going to say? How, and really there's, I could paint with any color in the
Right,
coloring.
you're pulling ideas out of your head, or in that case, out of your history in order to, right.
And on the other hand, something like that, what you just heard there, it sounds similar flow, similar cadence, but actually what's behind that is almost like a mathematical puzzle of how do I, like switch this word for a synonym, and what word can I use to rhyme that there? And it's very fixed. It's very rigid. The point of these things is, for me, a big part of the reason I do it, especially now, is for me to learn this information, and so if it's not accurate, I'm not actually learning anything. I'm just making something up, which there's value to making things up too.
Of course.
But I want to learn this stuff. I want to have it. I want to have access to it.
It's interesting. You say it's less creative, and I guess I agree with you. It's less creative, but it's also more talented. In other words, there's maybe more talent to staying true to the lyrics of King David in Psalms, while at the same time having it flow together, like you said, finding the synonyms and that kind of thing.
Well, to me, I see it almost like left brain, right brain a little bit. That one is more creative, and one is more like, a more difficult puzzle though. Like making the Psalms rhyme in English and not changing the meaning. That's a harder puzzle. It's much more limiting, much more fixed, rigid.
Right. That's fascinating because it's funny. We think of art always as creative, but there's obviously also the other side to art. So let's just keep going with the story, because we do have a limited amount of time tonight. I could sit with you for hours, but I don't know if we'll have everyone that's on the Zoom hang around. But I wanted to move on. So you're getting inspired by King David. Obviously, the words are talking to you a lot. What's the next step?
Yeah. So I realized that these Psalms that I'm practicing right now to perform for a crowd, when I'm saying the words, it's like I'm actually, because I've translated them accurately, I'm actually talking to Hashem. And it's like the first time in my entire life that I've really done that I've just talked to God like God is a sentient being that can hear what I'm saying. And I really started to feel very strongly this sense that my words were being heard. It wasn't just it wasn't just a like, you know, it wasn't just a historical
What's a
thing.
monologue?
Yeah, it wasn't just a monologue. It wasn't just like I was just talking to an empty universe. I really started to get this strong feeling of a connection, that what I was saying was being heard, and that kind of you know, that totally obviously transformed my understanding of what God is, and you know, shaped my my path going forward. Because once you have that connection, you know, it's almost like nothing else you're doing matters at all. It's like, well, why am I doing any of this other stuff? This connection is like this crazy powerful thing. And
You just started doing mitzvot? You just decided?
so let's go. Yeah, let's go step by step. So once I start with the Psalms, and I started rhyming a psalm every day. So that was the first step. So each day I would take one psalm and I'd work on it all day. At that point, I wasn't married. So I got up through 100. I got 1 through 100. I did 100 psalms, and right around when I got 100 psalms, I was visiting my uncle in Berkeley, California, and he gave me a book. It was Art Scroll Interlinear Psalms. He just had it. He wasn't using it. He's like, oh, you're in the Psalms? You'll probably enjoy this book. Okay. So up to that point, I had been using the Rastafarian one that I got off the marijuana table in the dispensary, that was just English, and it was a Christian translation. And so I start to look at my, you know, this interlinear, which if you guys have a chance, especially people who, you know, Hebrew isn't your first language, I just find the interlinear stuff and the way Art Scroll does it is really, really great. It's such an amazing tool for learning the language, because it's so accessible. You just have each, I think I actually have one right here. You can just see like the under each Hebrew word is the English translation. And so you don't have to figure out, well, like, it's not like you don't have to decode it at all. It's just right there at your fingertips to see, oh, this was the word he said, and that means this, basically. And sure, you could argue about translations of word, but you really get the gist of it from that Art Scroll, that layout. And so I start to look at the Psalms I had done and comparing them to, now I have the official, you know, manuscript over here. Before I was just had the English. Now I got the Hebrew and the real translations of it. And I'm like, oh no. Like I so many of my Psalms, there was like major things off. And like, I just, even though
all over.
Yeah, I did. I scrapped 100 Psalms. They're still on my computer here. Like I could pull up some, but I don't sing any of them anymore because they weren't accurate.
The way they match, you're saying.
Yeah, they weren't accurate.
Is that why you were telling me that specifically ones from davening, you're more comfortable that those ones you reworked?
Yeah, right. Those. So when I at this point I've probably reworked about a third of the book. So I'm at like 50.
So one day will we see an album called Psalms from Ari Lesser?
B'ezras Hashem. Well, I actually do. I have albums of Psalms up. I do have albums, but it's not all of them. It's not all of them. Yeah, but I do have. If you go up on Spotify or on iTunes, there is definitely some Psalm action going on. You can check out. But actually,
I can envision one day you can't buy a book of Tehillim without the Ari Lesser CD.
Hey, well, no. You know what I want to do? What I really want to do is I want to make Sidurim. I want to make Nusach Ari, right? Nusach Ari.
Very good. There you go.
And I want to have a Hebrew Nusach Ari, like the actual Nusach Ari, Hebrew, and then on the English it'll be my Nusach Ari. So it'll be the double
the
Ari.
new Ari's 31 flavors. I love it. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm working on the Sidurim right now. So
you actually are working on the Siddur. Wow.
I am working on a Siddur. It's going to be a long project, but I'm chipping away. I'm chipping away at it. I want to rhyme the whole Siddur.
Ari, we're running out of time. So I still want to do the characters of Bereshit at the end.
Okay.
Someone is requesting they want Psalm 23, which I think is from the more popular Psalms. We'll do that in just a moment. It's certainly one of the most familiar Psalms for most people. But let's move along with the story a little bit. So how do you start actually practicing Judaism? And are there any rabbis that influence your life?
So once I once I got into the Psalms, hooked on the Psalms, now I want to figure out like more about this guy, King David, right? And so I start to read his, I figure, okay, where his stories in the book of Samuel. So I start reading the book of Samuel. You start reading the book of Samuel from there with no background. You're like, what the heck is going on here? So I started going back, and maybe I should start with what's before this is like Shof team. Like that's even like more like, so I better just, I better just start in the beginning. I'll just start from the beginning.
Started at Bereshit or at
started Bereshit.
Wow.
So I started Bereshit. I'll read through, and as being raised in a Jewish community with a Jewish family, lots of the stories of the Torah I was familiar with. It wasn't like I was, I know some of the fundamentals. I know the Akedah. I know Yonah. I know, some of these classic stories. So it wasn't like I had no familiarity with it, but I had never just read the book cover to cover. I'd never read the Chumash cover to cover. And I think it's funny, actually. I bet if you had like asked me before this, a couple years before that, like, do you know what's in the Chumash? I'd be like, yeah, I know what's in the Chumash. Like, I know.
I bet the Hebrew.
Obviously,
of course I know.
I'm Jewish. I know what's in the Chumash. I know what's in, but I had no clue what was in there. I did not get that at all. So I started reading the Chumash, and I started actually not just reading it, but what do I do whenever I do anything? I start rhyming it. So I started to rhyme the Chumash, and each. I started with Parsha Bereshit, and I called up my mom. I told her, yeah, Mom, I started this new project. I'm trying to rhyme like the Torah. And she's like, oh, you know that this week is Simchas Torah. All the Jews all around the world, they started over at Parsha Bereshit. So
oh, wow.
I had no clue. I actually didn't know that. I didn't start right then because of that. But once I heard that like really motivated me. Like, you know what? I'm going to try to like, keep it up on the weekly basis. I'm gonna do Bereshit this week, and I'm do Noach. So I really that was a very overwhelming project. It was.
Well, yeah, the Bible's a pretty big book.
It took and the amount of information in one parsha to do it in a week is not feasible, really. Even at that point when I had no kids and no responsibilities, and I was just like working on rhyming the parsha every week. Some weeks I would finish it. Other weeks I would have major holes that I could not finish because just run out of time. And it's a lot of work. So I would, even if I didn't quite finish it, I would move on to the next parsha and start doing that. And so I am really getting into Chumash and like learning all this stuff. And at that point, yeah.
Hold on. Let me just interrupt you for a second, because I got to point out a couple of things that are fascinating. First of all, to me, it's fascinating because the more I'm hearing you speak about the process that goes into not just learning something, but actually being able to sing it, it's reminding me of the process that I have to go through in order to teach. In other words, I've learned Chumash for years. I grew up religious, but the moment that I have to teach the Parsha to anyone, it brings out, especially because you're talking to different people each time, it brings it out again, and it resonates much deeper. And to me, I'm like, wow, look at this fellow. First time he opens up the Chumash for real, and he's not only opening it up, but he's studying it each week to such a deep level that you're actually able to kind of give it over, like you said, to an audience, technically.
It very much, it's like teaching it because I'm able to share it. That's totally.
Meaning, now I'm starting to see, I mean, I don't know the details of your story, but I know enough to know that, and this is another thing that's very inspiring to me, that your journey until way later, it doesn't involve any rabbis. It's kind of a journey of self-Jewish discovery, which is very unique. It's very unique. And I think out of everything that I think is inspiring about your story, there's so many things, but to me, it's inspiring that a Jew with a neshama, with a soul, can one day decide, I want to be closer to God, and just go on his own journey. And it doesn't need to be, and this is when, the 80s, the 90s?
This is 2000.
You're older, right? You're older already. So it's the 2000s. But either way, this is before Chabad.org and Aish and all these different websites. There's so many websites out there these days. Torah Cafe and MyJewish.tv, all the different things. This is before any of that. So it's not, if you're exploring, you have to, the art school exists and that sort of thing. There's books on Chassidus. But my point is, it's really a Jew. Today, you can really do that. Like a Jew can really just visit some websites and Google around a little bit, right, and end up in the right places and really come closer to Hashem. And that's very inspiring to me, like that you did that.
Well, thank you. You know, I mean, although got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, King David is the one who,
Yes, indeed.
you know, where would I be, right?
I know,
If
but
I
that's
didn't.
still, Ari, I hate to break it to you, that's still pretty atypical. It's not exactly your usual story. Most of the rabbis that people are being inspired by are alive.
So,
Anyways, so let's move on. So you moved at one point to Arizona, am I right?
yes. Well, so I'll get into the Arizona story here. So after working with Chumash for quite a while, actually, I got up to Parsha Truma. Okay, I was rhyming every week up to Parsha Truma, and up until that point, I really felt like, what is the Chumash? If you ask me, what is the Chumash? What is it all about? I would have told you the Chumash is a book of good, moral stories from my ancestors given over to their children. That's what I would have told you that is about. It's like a story that parents have taught their kids for thousands of years. That's how I thought of it. And it very valuable. Not that was not like me knocking it at all. Okay.
Right.
Then I got to Parsha Truma. And if you read Parsha Truma, it's it looks less like a story and more like a blueprint or something. And then I'm like, am I really about to like rhyme this? Nobody's gonna want to hear this.
The menorah and like this guy.
Yeah, nobody's gonna want to hear this song. Like, I'm gonna go on for like 25 minutes rapping like all this blueprint stuff. This doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, maybe I'll go. I like flip to the next week. I'm like, wait, it's more of this. Like, and the next week it's like the same thing again. And it was like, well, the next 4 or 5 weeks is I'm just gonna be. And so, you might have thought, oh, that's gonna like turn me off from this thing. But actually did the exact opposite. It made me reevaluate what is the Torah. And once I got to that point, I sort of realized that the Torah, first of all, I was kind of coming at it like, I can just learn this real quick and then give it over. And once I got to there, I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. And so maybe I need to slow it down, roll it back, and not just try to like rhyme this and give it over, but maybe I should try to figure out
deeper stuff here.
Yeah, learn what's really going on here. And the more I read about this Mishkan thing, the more it just brought home like, maybe this was a real thing. Maybe this wasn't a story. This looks like a real thing that somebody built in the desert, and it's giving the details of how much gold and silver and copper, like to the gram, like this seems more like a real thing, and it very much made me question my belief that this was just a story, and sort of forced me to grapple with it as reality, as opposed to just I could write it off as some metaphorical thing. And so then that is what really led me to start wanting to like keep the mitzvahs, right? Okay, maybe if this is just a story, I could take it or leave it, right?
Right.
But if this is a real thing, then I better take it, I better take this. And so then I started to keep mitzvot as I read them in the Chumash. I didn't have any Mishnah. I didn't have any oral tradition at all. So if it says in the Torah that Hashem said to Moshe, tell the children of Israel, do this, I would do that like I read it in the Chumash. So
have you ever been to a Judaica store?
Had I ever been to one?
Like I'm saying, were you purchasing, let's say tzitzit? Were you going to the store and purchasing a pair of tzitzit?
So I bought it. Yeah, I bought a pair of tzitzit. I bought a pair of tzitzit because it says that. I actually, I had a pair of tefillin from my bar mitzvah that I started.
Right, you still had. I'm just trying to think like most.
So I started putting on tefillin. I had a prayer book. So I started, davening from a prayer book.
A sukkah. You just built one on your own.
So no. So sukkah, I didn't have any sukkah. I did not have a sukkah. Okay. And so this gets us to the Arizona story, which is I was traveling around West Coast up and down, and I wound up in Arizona around Passover. And I had always been with my family for Passover. That was one of the holidays that we actually did. Even when I was much younger, we would do a Passover Seder. And I was a participant in a Seder many times. So I know that it's a thing you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have certain things, matzah and wine. But
the details and the background of it and what exactly we're doing
details,
here.
I don't know, and they're not in the book. That's the big problem. There's no.
Right.
You,
Yeah,
you,
it just
you
says
look in the
your
Chumash.
personality.
It says eat this, eat a lamb. Okay, not doing that, and have matzah, and there's
And
nothing
paro.
about a seder. It
Right,
doesn't
right.
say anything about a seder at all. So this is the first time where like my like following the written tradition really clashes with oral tradition. And later on, I
But
thought about
just to clarify, it wasn't a clash in your mind. You just had what, confusion, or you were?
well, there was just a gap in my ability to
Perform.
here's what I realized is that you might have thought that at that point I had no oral tradition. I just had the written Torah, right?
Right.
But that's not true, because even though I was raised almost secular, I did have a little bit of oral tradition.
For starters, you had tefillin, and
I had this, and I had
Right.
this seder, and even my family that considers themselves secular, they had a little bit of the oral tradition because they're doing a seder. They're still doing a seder. So that really was an oral tradition that had been passed on from Moshe at Har Sinai all the way to me, like actually directly. And so that piece of the oral tradition, I knew even though that's not in the book, I knew that's real. That's a real thing. And I didn't know how to do it. And so I decided I was going to,
wait. Let's take a break in the story because it's been a while without a rap. I know you have one of the 10 plagues. So
okay,
we're at Passover and we're at the Seder, and anyways, there's no holidays around. It's not like we could say, Hanukkah, we're singing about Passover. We can sing about whatever we want now. So why don't you give us?
So that's the Arizona story. I go to the Chabad of Arizona. I was in Arizona. I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure out. I want to go to a real Seder. I don't want to mess around. I don't want a phony baloney Seder. I want to figure out what's the real deal. I'm in Arizona. Who's the Orthodox Jews over here? Chabad. Okay. I'm going to call up Chabad. You got a Seder going on. They had their Seder. You could come to the public Seder. So I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to show up. I show up to their Seder with, they got, I don't know, 150 people in a big, in the Chabad house. Everyone sitting in groups, some of them families, some other, so it's like 8-10 people at a table. And I start schmoozing with the people at my table, and they find out, that I'm a rapper. And that at this point, you got to remember, I've been already learning Chumash and writing songs about Chumash for like a year and a half, something like that. So I have all these songs written about Torah that I've literally never
out at any point, at any moment.
And not only that, but I've like literally never sung for Jewish people. Like I've just been doing these for like, at the music festival.
That may one day come. Right?
I know I've been singing. No, I sing them at festivals. Like I would sing. Yeah, because every even if you're people who are Christian, they like they like biblical stories too. Whatever, people know these stories. They're famous stories. So, so I told one of the people at my table, that I had written a song about the 10 plagues, and they went and told the rabbi. I wasn't about to like tell the rabbi. They went to tell Rabbi. I don't know if you guys know Rabbi Levertov. Zalman Levertov is the elder. He's like the head honcho in Arizona. And so he comes over to me, he's like, no, like we want to hear the song. And I'm like, oh no, these people are not gonna, they don't know, it's not a song, it's a rap. They're not gonna like this. So I'll share with you this is the 10 plagues. It goes like, it's Hashem rapping to Paro. Because you won't let my people depart, I'm sending my plagues against your heart. You and your servants soon shall see, in all the earth there is none like me. And if I chose, I could send my hand to wipe you out from the face of the land, but I let you live so you may declare how great my name is everywhere. From the river to the lake to the puddle in the mud, every drop of water shall be turned into blood. The fish life will perish, the river will stink. The Nile will be violent, impossible to drink. And from the bloody waters, frogs will ascend to enter the houses of you and your friends. They'll creep through your bedroom, your kitchen too. They'll hop in your food and they'll climb into you. And when the frogs die, their stench will disgust. Then lice infestation will form from the dust. The lice will reach each corner of the land, living on the bodies of animal and man. On you and your servants shall be unleashed a horde horde of vicious and venomous beasts emerging even from under the ground. Except in those regions my people have found, a severe epidemic will kill all the sheep and horses and donkeys and camels you keep. Your cattle will fall with the blink of an eye, but no livestock of my people will die. And a handful of soot from the fireplace will be thrown in the sky right before your face. Then burning and blistering boils will begin to erupt on you and your servant's skin. Because you won't let my people depart, I'm sending my plagues against your heart. You and your servants soon shall see, in all the earth there is none like me. And if I chose, I could send my hand to wipe you out from the face of the land. But I let you live, so you may declare how great my name is everywhere. A hail of fire will fall from the sky, and all that live in the field shall die. Both man and beast, every blade of grass, each tree in the field, the hail will smash. Some of your food might survive the rains, but locust swarms will consume what remains. They'll enter your borders from all around, so thick that you can't even see the ground. Then deep darkness will fill this place till no man sees his brother's face. For 3 long days there will be no light. Your land will be black as the darkest night. And then every firstborn man will die. When midnight strikes, your land will cry a sound like there has never been, nor will there ever be again. Your sons will die and you will grieve. You'll pay my people just to leave. You'll dress them in their very best. You'll give them all that they request. They will no longer be your slaves, for I will bring them forth to save, redeem, and take them as my own. Then lead them back through the desert home. Because you won't let my people depart, I'm sending my plagues against your heart. You and your servants soon shall see, in all the earth there is none like me. And if I chose, I could send my hand to wipe you out from the face of the land. But I let you live, so you may declare how great my name is everywhere.
What was the reaction? Thank you very much. What was the reaction?
So-
You're getting a lot of applause, by the way, from the crowd. I know we have them all muted, but there's a massive applause. Like, just imagine.
Thank you. So they, to my surprise, they loved it. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. All these, black hat, Chabad, they're like,
by the way, we also
What?
think it's the coolest thing ever, right here on the Zoom.
well, but now I've come to expect it. At the time, I was like, these Orthodox Jews, they're not gonna like my gangster rap. They're not gonna like this. This is like totally, doesn't make any sense. So that though really opened a new, possibility to me. I was like, wow, these, this community, they liked it more. That's actually that's the real Chiddush. It's like, not only do they like it, they like these songs more than, the hippies who I'd been singing before. I remember I sang that song at like a reggae festival, and people are like looking at each other like, is he talking to me? Or like, what? Like, they like these, those plagues sound kind of hard. I don't know. So they liked it more, and that good. Once again, this like an initial positive experience.
Right.
So this time it's a positive experience with Orthodox Jews, right? That was really, one of my first interactions with Orthodox Jews. And so having that initial positive experience made me feel comfortable, on my travels, just dropping it at Chabad houses in California and Oregon and Washington. So I started just, popping into all these different shluchim for Shabbos. If I was always rapping. Yeah. And I have eventually was, I went to up in Oregon, Rabbi Wilhelm up there.
Oh, sure.
I
said, oh, sure. His wife is actually on the Zoom right now. She's my aunt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he told me that he had this student, Rabbi Pasternak, who started yeshiva in Tzfas, and he's like, you got to go to Tzfas, you got to go learn in yeshiva over there. And I'd been planning on going on birthright because it's like a free trip to Israel. Of course, I didn't want to miss that. I was already 25 at the time, so they only did it at that point until you were 26. So I knew I was about to go out to Israel, and I said, yeah, what's the harm? I'll go check it out. So I extended my flight, and I went out. I think you could extend it a maximum of 3 months, you could, turn the 10-day trip into a 3-month trip without having to, lose your ticket.
Pay a fee.
So before I even left, I extended it the max, 3 months. And I went on my 10-day birthright trip. It was amazing. And then I just kind of I didn't have a plan really, but I did have a bit of a plan. I went to Maya Note for their starter program for a couple weeks. But that only got me through the first month. I had 2 more months in Israel. I had no plan what I was going to do. And I traveled. One of my friends from college happened to be there at the same time, and he rented a car, and we traveled the country together, and got to go to some places that birthright doesn't take you, Hebron and Kever Rachel, which were, just incredible. I had really incredible, deep, experiences at both those places, and then eventually up to Sfas, where birthright takes you for 3 hours. And on the birthright trip, I'm in Sfas for 3 hours. I'm like, I need more than 3 hours here. This is there's clearly way more going on behind the scenes here. I want to spend a little more time here. So with my buddy, we went up there, and that's when I met Rabbi Pasternak, and he's an incredible guy. He used to be a big Fish head. If you guys know the band Fish, it was they got a whole festival scene on the East Coast. He would travel around with Fish, and then eventually he was Makarev. Then he became a great student of Torah and of the Rebbe, and he he's also what? Yeah, he started his own yeshiva. Yeah, he went from being a student to being a teacher. So he's the Rav of the yeshiva out there now. And so, but he really, I could connect him because he also, spent lots of time in the festival scene, and he's a very talented musician in his own right. He's a classically and jazz trained pianist. So
from here, the ball was really rolling. You had gone to this yeshiva, that yeshiva. You started to get to know different rabbis and rabbis and different perspectives.
Yeah. So now the ball's rolling. Now it's
Israel, so that's always a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, you got to come learn with us. So I stayed there, learned there for the next 2 months, and then it was time to go. And I was like, okay, Rabbi, thanks so much. So my flight's next week, and I'm going to be headed out, and I just really appreciate. He's like, what do you mean? You just got here. You can't leave. So. He offered me a deal. He said, look, if you cancel your ticket, cancel that ticket, you're going to have to buy yourself a new ticket, but in return, I'll let you stay here for free, as long as you keep the Seder and you're up for Chassidus every morning and you don't miss davening, whatever, then you can stay here, for free, and you'll use that money to buy yourself a new ticket. So,
how long did that last?
So I ended up staying there for almost a year.
Wow.
And that's where I really got, exposed to the oral Torah in its fullness. My Hebrew became much better.
Let me just interrupt you to clarify, because I feel like a lot of people are imagining you then the way you look now, and you look very well groomed now. Let me just clarify for everybody that at the time, one of the parshas that you might not pay as much attention to is the section where it talks about a Nazir or a Nazirite. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Nazir. So yeah. So I have this hair. I have not cut my hair in over 10 years. Same with my beard. It's tucked under here. And that's kind of
so all this time you were walking around, you used to have it out.
I took on that vow. I took also before I met any rabbis.
Before you met any rabbis, just by reading the Torah. To me, that's fascinating.
And it's funny. A lot of people, they hear you're a Nazir, and the reaction I get from so many people is like, oh, what? There's not enough mitzvahs? You need to take on some more mitzvahs for yourself, right? You really thought you were doing all the other ones so great that you needed more. It's like there's people assume there's this gaiva behind it, this arrogance behind it. Yeah. And it's so funny because it's the exact opposite. It was really when I took on Naziris, I didn't actually feel obligated to keep any mitzvahs. I actually didn't feel any obligation. I wasn't, they say, oh, we were all at Har Sinai. We all agreed to keep it. I don't remember being at Har Sinai. I don't remember saying, I'm going to keep all these mitzvahs. I have no recollection of that. My family doesn't keep these mitzvahs. I feel no obligation to keep these mitzvahs. I think it's cool. I like it. I'm doing it. But there was no sense of really, I have to do this. And with Naziris, a Nazirite, for those who don't know, is in Parsha Naso, it says any Jewish man or woman can voluntarily take on this vow, which you grow your hair, you don't eat anything from grapes, and you don't become contaminated to dead people, which means graveyards, hospitals, actual bodies, all kinds of different things there. I didn't fully understand it at the time, but
You started doing that at what age?
that
10 years ago.
was must have been over 10 years ago. So I guess, what is this? I'm 30, so 22 maybe 20, something.
Wow.
22. And I, at the time, when I took that on and I verbally said I'm going to do this, it was like that was the first mitzvah that I felt an obligation to keep. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm doing all the other mitzvahs so well and now I can. No, it was like, no, that was like my gateway. It was like, oh, now, okay, I'm obligated. I'm really obligated to keep this one.
In other words, this was the one that you chose to make a connection to. Hashem, you chose to.
Well, not just that, I said I was going to do it. Like, I mean, it's like, the other ones I didn't make any commitment to do them.
Amazing. Your story is so fascinating. I could really be here for hours, but we are a little bit limited of time, and we're getting so many questions from people on chat and on my phone, personal text messages. So we're going to take some questions soon. But I think, look, I end all my classes, as people who attend my classes know, I always end my classes with a l'chaim. I know you have a rap on l'chaim, so why don't we end over that, and then we'll take questions.
Beautiful.
Anywhere we want, and then we'll open up the characters of Bereshit. So, l'chaim.
L'chaim. L'chaim, a toast to the host and the guests. L'chaim v'levracha, may you all be blessed. L'chaim tovim, u'lishalom for peace. L'chaim, may good things only just increase. L'chaim with wisdom, awareness, and wealth. L'chaim with happiness, healing, and health. L'chaim to family, the kids, and the wife. L'chaim, my friends say, l'chaim to life. Well, I don't remember, but I have been told first time I got drunk, I was 8 days old, son of Abraham. Didn't waste no time sipping wine at my bris just to ease my mind. Sobered up after that, I spent 12 years clean, but I fell off the wagon when I turned 13. Couldn't see rated R movies or drive a car, but my bar mitzvah had an open bar. They say that day I became a man and I had to obey all of God's commands. Now it's true, there's things we don't do as Jews, but Hashem doesn't mind if we use some booze. Drink responsibly, gotta stay alive. Don't drink too much, don't drink and drive. For some folks, alcohol can be deadly. But if you drink to life, you can drink with me. L'chaim, a toast to the host and the guests. L'chaim v'livracha, may you all be blessed. L'chaim tovim, u'lishalom for peace. L'chaim, may good things only just increase. L'chaim with wisdom, awareness, and wealth. L'chaim with happiness, healing, and health. L'chaim to family, the kids, and the wife. L'chaim, my friends say, l'chaim to life. Well, Shabbat is a great excuse to let loose. No need to make it on fruity grape juice. Pop open your finest Pinot or Merlot and keep pouring more till that cup overflows. We celebrate Pesach in the springtime. No grain alcohol, but wine is just fine. They call it Passover because everyone passes out over dinner from chugging 4 glasses. In all 7 days of Sukkot, I'm tipsy, hanging outside in my hut like a gypsy. I ain't got a roof, but I can't complain. If it showers, I just get sloshed in the rain. On Shmini Atzeres, the drinking gets careless. Head starts spinning, losing self-awareness. We all dance the horror while a guy in a fedora pours a lot of shots for some more Simchas Torah. 14th of Adar, wherever we are, every shul far and wide has an open bar. Cause on Purim, we drink till we don't know why. Haman's curse is any different than blessed is Mordechai. L'chaim, a toast to the hosts and the guests. L'chaim b'livracha, may you all be blessed. L'chaim tovim, u'lishalom for peace. L'chaim, may good things only just increase. L'chaim with wisdom, awareness, and wealth. L'chaim with happiness, healing, and health. L'chaim to family, the kids, and the wife. L'chaim, my friends say l'chaim to life. By my wedding, the rabbi passed me a cup overflowing with wine, and he said, bottoms up, on an empty stomach. That broke my fast. First drink of the day, but it wasn't the last. Every happy occasion is celebration is cause for a little intoxication, cause the Talmud says that since temple times you won't find any joy if you don't have wine, but it also brings relief from the grief when my loved ones die. Life seems so brief, but I still do them right. Light a candle, recite Kaddish, and say L'chaim on the yearly yard site. There's no wealth in the grave, so I buy that top shelf. I'm a drink for the dead till I'm dead myself. So if I don't outlive you when my soul is delivered to God, give a toast and get drunk at my shiva. L'chaim, the toast to the host and the guest. L'chaim, b'levracha. May you all be blessed. L'chaim tovim u'lishalom, for peace. L'chaim, may good things only just increase. L'chaim with happiness, healing, and health. L'chaim with wisdom, awareness, and wealth. L'chaim to family, the kids, and the wife. L'chaim, my friends say l'chaim to life.
Yes, I have to agree with some of the comments. First of all, look at all the applause. I don't know if you have it on gallery view, Ari. You definitely should. Like that, you can see the whole crowd clapping for you.
I should do that. Let's see.
Yeah, but I thought you're actually, singing for a crowd. But also some of the comments here. What a joy you are. Thank you so much. Your story is intriguing. Here, someone wants to know, we'll take some questions from the audience here. Let's start with some from the comments. And then if anybody has one, if you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself soon, we'll take some more questions. Sharon Berger wants to know, have you thought of writing a memoir for other Jews of college age who may have been raised very secular?
I've definitely thought of it, just kind of writing my story. Unfortunately, I have just so many other writing projects that are like right now. The Sitter is probably the one that I'm most focused on, and it's like I right now I have 3 boys. I got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old boy, and so I don't have like nearly as much time to write as I used to write, and so I have to really pick and choose what I'm gonna, use my time to do when I have those moments of.
Well, hopefully we can get a memoir sometime soon.
Maybe once I have a little more life experience, maybe once I get a little older. No, but I've definitely had the idea. I think it's a good idea, and doing things like this, where I share my story, it really helps. It helps me formulate the thoughts and the order, and this is great for me.
Do you do this often? I mean, I know you do a lot of concerts and shows.
Yeah. So obviously not as much as I do concerts, but for sure I've done plenty of Shabbatones where that's like one of the, I'll do a concert, at some point, but then, Saturday afternoon, everyone's just hanging out. Then they'll have me give over my story, kind of like you guys are hearing today. So
you're getting a lot of Yasher Koachs and Toda Rabbas in the comments. And a lot of requests for psalms, because as we were going along,
hey, nothing better than singing songs, right?
Yeah, I know, but I want to get to the characters of Bereshit. I'm curious about myself. Let's take some questions from the audience. If anybody has a question, if you can raise your hand, I'll be happy to call on you, and we'll take some questions about your journey along the way. Obviously, your camera needs to be on. I can't see you if your camera's off. Danny Levin, if you can unmute yourself, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Really inspiring. Wonderful story. A couple of questions. Have you come across Matisyahu? It sounds like you have a kind of, an interesting connection.
So I actually have not ever really connected with him, unfortunately. I've heard that he actually had a similar, that he also spent time in the music festival scene and also in Chabad. So we have a lot of shared connections. The closest that we ever got to connecting was Purim, must have been 2013, 2014, something like that. I think 2013. I just finished. That was when I got back from yeshiva to the States, and I'm sure you can guess for a Jewish artist, Purim is like one of the best days of the year. It's like the easiest day to get a gig. It's always always have something set up. So I had a nice gig in LA. Actually, I was doing something at what's the place called? Maury's Fireplace. You guys ever go to Maury's Fireplace on Pico? It's like it's an Aish spot, but it's a really cool venue. And I was doing a show with Moshav Band, and I put out this in the week before Purim. I put out this video, Ahmadinejad. This song goes out to Ahmadinejad, which if you go up on YouTube. You can still find it. And we have guys. You got a treat. This is my youngest baby Kale here. Wants to come say hi.
Wow, he's up late.
Yeah. What do you mean? This is early. He doesn't go to bed till 3 a.m. No.
You never really met Matisyahu. Okay.
No. But so anyways, he asked. I put out this video, Ahmadinejad. It's kind of comparing Ahmadinejad to Haman a little bit, the parallels. You should go check it out. It's a fun video.
Yeah.
So it kind of went a little bit viral, and this was like a couple of days before Purim, and like 2 days after I put it out, I got like a message from Matisyahu's agent or his manager or something. It was like, we want you to come and perform at this, show with Matisyahu in Florida, on Purim. And like, this is like the day before Purim, and I already had like booked a whole nother gig, and it's like I wasn't going to bail on my commitment in Los Angeles. There's no way I could have done both because they're like other sides of the country. So I told him I couldn't do it. And that was like, I don't know. That was like the closest we came to connecting. It
wasn't yet to come. One other question was whether you've received any kind of narrow-minded perspective of you misappropriating others' cultures.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely, I get that from almost always from Jews. That's it. I've never actually gotten that from the African American community. They always love what I do. But from Jews, I get it all the time. Sort of like looking down their nose at this idea, like, what are you doing, taking someone else's culture? And one of the responses I have to that is, first of all, if you look at the history of rap, right? Most people will trace it back to the 70s at the latest. That's when they'll say kind of the origins, and that even that wasn't rap, but they'll say some of the original, ancestors of rap. That's when they started arising. And one of the things I say, watch the video "Subterranean Homesick Blues" by Bob Dylan, which is from the 60s, and he is rapping in that video. Okay, so that's a Jewish guy rapping before rap is supposed to ever even been originated. So I really think that you can't like have a cultural monopoly on this medium. And another thing I think is that nobody can rap faster than like a Lubavitcher saying like Tehillim on Shabbos Mevarchim, right? When you're saying Tehillim on Shabbos Mevarchim, no one is saying words. There's no rapper who's saying their lyrics as fast as the Jews reading the book of Tehillim in 2 hours. Okay, we are the fastest rappers, and we've been doing it for thousands of years, trying to just read these lyrics. I mean,
I didn't expect from Jew. I expected you to get the criticism from other cultures. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, no.
Yashikoa, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take some more questions before we keep going. Anyone else want to raise your hand? If you just raise your hand and your video's on, I can see you. If you have any questions. I actually had one question. Let me just see if anyone else has. I'm just flipping through all the cameras. Sorry. So one of the questions I was going to ask was about that video Boycott Israel, which we watched actually during the cutoff. Like when you got cut off, we watched that video. I was curious if you got any kind of negative. I mean, I'm sure you got negative feedback. You see what YouTube did to the video. I mean, as if there's some kind of violence in the video. YouTube treats it as if like it needs to be, My question was like, if you got any hate mail.
Yeah, so I got a lot of hate. I left the comments on in that video. You can go back through them yourself. There is lots of nasty comments on there. I don't know, at this point there's got to be over 1,000, probably a couple of thousand.
There's over 500,000 views. By the way, if you're not a subscriber to Ari's YouTube channel, now is the time to do so. Whip out your phone, hit subscribe.
Thank you.
Whatever else, I don't know.
Please do. So yeah, I got a lot of really nasty response, and part of that I really expected it, because I think too often Israel, the pro-Israel movement and defenders of Israel, they end up just preaching to the choir. And I think that, unfortunately, the Jewish community spends an incredible amount of time and energy and resources putting out messages that will not reach outside of the box that already believes what they're saying. So it's like almost pointless. And the reason that I designed that song the way I did was I want the other side to see this, right? I really want the other side to see
Yeah,
this.
it's certainly
I
kind of clickbaity. I actually just sent it to someone a couple days ago, like in preparation for this, and he wanted to know one of your videos. So I sent it to him, and he goes, "Oh, I watched the whole thing right away. I was not expecting, like, it was clickbait. Like, he kind of thought you were going to be anti-Israel, and then it came out."
Yeah, and I got lots of messages from Jews who actually, like, they maybe got a link to it and didn't watch it, and they're like, "How could you? How dare?" And it's like this is exactly the point. Like, I actually don't need to reach you. That, like, I don't need to reach you. It doesn't matter that you didn't watch it because you are already, you already believe this. I need the person who wants to boycott Israel. That's who needs to watch that video. And of course, the consequence of that is those people do watch the video and then they let me know what they think of it. And who knows how many people watched that video and it actually changed their mind. I have no idea. All I know is the people who watched the video and hated what I said and let me know that, I'm like the scum of the earth, basically, for
I mean, was it quoted? I don't remember exactly, but didn't I see somewhere that it was quoted maybe in a news article or something?
Yeah, actually BBC News.
Right.
They dropped a link to my video. It's pretty awesome. They had an article about the boycott, the BDS movement. And so the whole beginning of the article is just laying out the BDS movement. And then they say, oh, but some on Israel counter, and they say da-da-da. For example, this guy in this video, and they like bring my video as like the response of Jews to the BDS movement. So I felt pretty good that even though I have no mandate from the Jewish community to represent our views,
and there are many other good organizations that certainly take up that mantle, but I guess it's good that you're doing it too. Okay, any other questions? Mark Schneider has a question. Mark, you want to unmute yourself? Go ahead.
In your practice of being a Nazir, and you've been doing that, you say, for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Are you experiencing anything that comes about through your practice of oneness or whatever it is? Because I'm very interested in that, the Nazir, and what is the benefit of that? What do you think is your benefit?
That's a great question, and I'm still trying to figure it out myself. Part of what drove me to taking it on was in that parsha there's this whole story of the sota. Okay, so what led me to take it on is that that week, remember, I'm following the parsha every week pretty closely at that point in my life, and that week there was just, I don't want to go into details, but there was some like very strange things going on that I just were very distressing, and at the same time felt like hashgacha pratis. It was like God's hand was intervening in my life in very weird and uncomfortable ways. Okay. And I didn't know what to make of it. And then I read the parsha of the week. And when I got to the sota thing, it was like, whoa, this is like hitting close to home here. Then immediately after the sota, the passage about the sota, is this thing about Nazir. And I'm like, what does this have to do? What's the transition here? That's, well, like right now we're in Bereshis, like everything transitions to the next thing. It's so nice. There's no transition here. So I start reading in the commentary. I have the art scroll, just basic commentary. And it says, the reason these passages are juxtaposed is that somebody who witnesses the sota, that's who takes on the vow of the Nazir. And I just was feeling very lost and confused at that time in my life. And I felt like maybe the reason that all these things were happening to me this week, that maybe the reason was I was supposed to take this vow, and so I just did it, and I took it on, and I didn't fully understand it. And once I got to yeshiva, I learned Tractate Nazir and realized that I was in for the long haul. I took it initially for a year, thinking, oh, in a year I'll be done with it, and then I learned that no, you whatever time you set, that's how long you have to do it. Tahor, you have to be totally pure for that amount of time, and since we're essentially all ritually impure, since there's no para aduma, we're just we're all in a state, unless you've been protected from birth from hospitals and graveyards and everything. There are kohanim I've heard who are they're kept from babies ritually pure, but that's absurd. I mean, the vast majority of us are 100%. We are tameh. A mikveh doesn't help. Only thing that would change our status would be the ashes of the red heifer, which don't exist in these times. So I can't start counting my year until I get those ashes of the para aduma. So I'm kind of just stuck. I'm in limbo until then. Anyways, here's what I'll say. I don't. It doesn't give me superpowers. I'm not super strong or anything like Shimshon Gibor.
Like that because of Samson.
I will say I wrote a lot of really good songs since then. I have written a lot of really good songs. I can't say who knows. Maybe I would have written good songs even without that. There's no what do they call it in science? There's no
corroboration or right.
Yeah, there's no test case. But here's one thing that does come up all the time, which is I'll just be at somebody's house, a lot of times the Orthodox people's house, and they'll serve me a salad, right? And I'll be like, is there any balsamic vinegar on this dressing or something like that? And they'll be like, we keep kosher, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, I know it's not about kosher. And so then what happens is all of a sudden I have to go into this whole explanation about I'm a Nazir, and I wind up just talking Torah, right? This meal that could have ended, this could have just been a very mundane meal. We could have talked about football or who knows, but now instead of that, we're talking Torah. So that is a way that it comes up. And also the hair is another thing. I get it all the time. People will be like, when are you going to cut your hair? When are you going to cut your, I can't even tell you. I've gotten dozens of people who don't know me, and they just see me in shul, and the first thing they say to me is not hey, what's your name? Where are you from? The first words that I will get from these people is when are you going to cut your hair? Really? That's the first thing you want to say to me. Nice to meet you as well. So it leads to these strange conversations, but they're conversations that are rooted in Torah. And so in that way, since, talking Torah is, in some ways, that's what it's all about, is just talking Torah. And so in that way, it does really connect. It does connect you because it transforms the mundane things in life into weird Torah conversations.
Okay. Ari, we have passed the 2-hour mark, which is fine. I'm happy to get here all night, but I do want to do some of the characters of Bereshit. I know some people are hanging around for that. Before we open that up, let me remind everyone, if you're enjoying this evening, in order for us to make such evenings possible, your donations are important, and we're looking for 10 sponsors. We have 3 so far. If you're able to jump in with $54, if you can go to PasadenaJewishAcademy.com/donate, put that in there, and that can help to cover tonight's evening. So the next part of the program is where Ari has mentioned that he has a lot of rapped lyrics ready for most of the characters of Bereshit. I see some people have already been typing into the chat. I wanted to get this kicked off with a character that I like a lot, and we were just reading about him. His name is Shet, or Seth.
Shet.
You have one on him? I hope so.
All right, let's go. My name is Sheit. I'm the son of Adam, the third one born to Chava, my mom. The oldest was Cain, then Hevel, his brother. But sadly, the firstborn murdered the other. That boy was bad. Good thing they had me. Number 3. I was just like my dad. I fathered a Nosh at 105, 800 years later, and I'm still alive.
Very good. Okay, we got Jacob, Yaakov Avinu.
Used to be Yaakov, now I'm Yisrael, because I wrestled with God and I still prevailed. I came face to face with Hashem in the place where angels go up and down from outer space. Then I went to Aram where I tended the flock of my uncle Lavan. Got a lot of livestock, married 4 wives who bore me 12 sons who all became tribes of the Holy One.
Nice. I love it. You're bound to get some random ones. So here we go. Someone says, I think someone's been looking through the Chumash Bereshit here. He wants to know about Mupim, who is Benjamin's son.
No, I don't have Mupim.
You don't have
I
Mupim.
don't have Mupim.
Okay, we got any others? Come on, folks, give me someone. Oh, he says it's from his Bar Mitzvah Parsha. That's how he remembers that name. Okay, let's do...
Moses, Rabbeinu.
Oh, well, Moses is not in the book of Genesis. Do you have one of them?
Oh, we're just doing Bereshit. Okay,
just the book of Genesis. So we have Cain. Danny wants to know about Cain.
Cain. I'm Cain the first. No, sorry.
Yeah, Cain is Cain.
No. But I was started saying the Adam rap. I'm Cain, so mine was the very first birth. I used to be the only child on earth, but as soon as my mother and dad had another, everything was all about Hevel, my brother. He was adored. I was getting ignored. I just wanted things to be like they were before, so I rose up and struck my brother in the head. Now the second man born is the first man dead.
Wow. Powerful stuff.
Heavy.
That's heavy stuff. Let's do Yissachar.
Yissachar. Yeah, we got Yissachar.
That's one of the 12 tribes. Maybe one of the less
Yissachar. I'm Yissachar, son of Yisrael, learning tons of Torah because I'm in Kolel. No job, but I got 4 kids at home. Tola, Puva, Yov, and Shimron. A lot of mouths to feed, but my brother agreed to provide my family with all we need. Now it's not charity. He receives in return 1/2 of the merit for all that I learned.
That's right. I forgot that Yissachar has that partnership with Zevulun, where he studies the Torah and Zevulun supports him. If anybody's interested in supporting Torah learning,
it's a good transition.
Good plug. I didn't think about that. So someone else asks, we just read about the despicable Chum. You got one on
Chum. Yeah, I got a Chum. Let's go with.
Remember, guys, for those that are chatting, names that are not in the book of Genesis, we're looking for characters from the book of Bereshit. Please give us some names. Okay,
doesn't have to be Parsha Bereshit. Just say.
No, the whole book. Yeah, the whole book. So any.
We do Noah.
So
we'll do Cham. We'll do Cham first. Yo.
We'll do Noah in a moment. Let's start with Cham. Go for it.
My name is Cham. I'm one of the 3 branches of humanity's family tree. We were saved by God when the flood began, because our father Noah was a righteous man. But my dad's been drinking too much wine. Now when I visit, who knows what I'll find? Last time I went, he was totally spent, passed out naked and drunk in his tent.
Thank you. We have another one for Mesushelach or Methuselah. That's not just the name of a tree. That's also a man in the book of.
So I get Methuselah. He gets a shout out in Hanoch, so I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay. So
my name is Hanoch, the son of Yared, not dead. I'm just walking with God instead. See, my son Methuselah lived a long time, but he died at 969. Now he's long gone, yet I'm still alive. Because when I was 365, I went up where no man had gone before. God took me away, and I was no more.
Okay, let's do. Marilyn had asked for Noach. Go for it.
I'm Noach, so you know you descend from me, because every other family got swallowed by the sea. I'm the righteous one who God wanted to survive, so he kept me alive with my sons and their wives, stayed afloat in a boat while the whole world drowned. A year later, when the waters dried up from the ground, it was time for me to grow some fruit of the vine, because after that, who wouldn't want to drink some wine?
Okay. Marty, I want to hear one from you. For now, but we'll go on. Leon wants to know about Benjamin. Go for it.
Benjamin. Yeah, we got Benjamin. Let's see here.
Oh. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Benjamin, Yaakov's youngest son, and my mother Rachel was his favorite one, but there were complications when she gave me birth, so she died on the day I came into this earth. My brother Yosef was her only other child, and we think he got eaten by a beast in the wild. If my father lost me, he would be so sad. He's become quite the overprotective dad.
Good stuff. Chava, Eve, the first woman. Marty, we're still waiting for you. You got to come up with one.
My name is Chava, the wife of Adam, the very first woman, so I'm everybody's mom. But I was never born. I know it sounds odd. I was formed from a rib by the hand of God. My husband and me used to live carefree till that serpent convinced us to eat from the tree. As soon as I chewed, I looked at my dude and realized that we were completely nude.
I love that they're all told in first person. I find that fascinating. Marty, you got something for us?
Mordecai or...
Oh.
No, Mordecai is not from Genesis.
No.
You got one on Mordecai?
Well, Mordecai or the thing where it had 813 laws.
613 laws.
Abel?
Sorry, what?
We got Abel. Somebody wants to know Abel.
Abel? My name is Hevel. My father and mother were Adam and Chava, and Cain is my brother. He works the dirt while I tend livestock, always giving God from the best of my flock. All he has to offer are turnips and beets, so he can't compete with my firstborn sheep. I'm so generous. My brother's just cheaper. Can't keep up with me. How could he be my keeper?
Very good. Someone asked about Batya. I think that's also from the book of
Batya's Shmos. Yes, Shmos.
Let's do Yishmael. Someone has here.
Yishmael, that's a good one. My name is Yishmael, first son of Avram. Got kicked out the house I left with my mom. There was nowhere to go, homeless, so had to grow up fast and learn how to use a bow. It's hard out there in the desert. I was scared, but our lives were spared when God heard my prayer. And now the 12 kingdoms who come from my sons pray 5 times a day to the Holy One.
All right. We're going to take a couple more while people type them into the chat. Any names? An interesting question just came in, which I'll take in just a moment. But for now, where can people find you, Ari? Like I mentioned your YouTube channel, people can subscribe to you. Where can people buy your albums on iTunes?
Yeah, you can download stuff on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, pretty much all the major, like the big platforms. If you type my name in, you'll get some stuff. If you want to just stream stuff, Spotify, you can just type my name in. There's stuff up on Spotify. I'm going to be releasing Bezrat Hashem. I have an album that's all Pirkei Avos that's not out yet, but it's awesome. I'm really excited to get it out. It's basically done.
So it'll be on iTunes. If people want to buy it,
it'll be on iTunes. It'll be everywhere. Right now, the only way to get that is like from my backpack or from me personally. But
we can wait till it comes out.
That's going to be out hopefully on all the major platforms soon.
Amazing.
And then if you want to get in touch with me, I'm pretty active on Facebook and starting to get into Instagram. My Instagram is Ari Blesser, at Ari Blesser. Like my name is Ari Lesser. My middle initial is Binyamin actually. So Ari Blesser, easy to remember. For Instagram, Facebook, just type my name in. YouTube, same thing. You'll find my channel.
Right.
I've got dozens of videos up there. So
hopefully we got you a whole bunch of more subscribers tonight. We got a couple more names that came in here. Let's do Terach.
This week's Parsha.
Yeah,
right?
Parsha.
My name is Terach. I'm Avram's dad. I have an idol shop. Well, at least I had. Left my son in charge. Now the place is trashed. Almost every single thing in my store got smashed. And when I asked Avram who made the mess, he told me one big idol broke all the rest. Does he think I'm stupid? That statue of stone is worthless. It can't do a thing on its own.
Okay, we got Yosef.
Yo, my name is Yosef, got that coat of many colors, cause my father loved me more than all my other brothers. So they sold me as a slave to some foreign man. I wound up locked up down in Egypt land. But when I told Pharaoh the meaning of his dream, he made me prime minister of Mitzrayim. I got the ring of the king, gold bling on my neck, roll in the royal chariot, I get respect.
Someone wants to know, here's a question that came in. I'm curious if it's possible to do raps without the African-American accent. Is that part of the art form?
Well, it just depends. If I'm trying to be gangster, then
Right, and that's
that's like, I don't even consider African American because there's lots of white people that put on. That's like the gangster. It's like the hard thing.
Right.
Lots of what I do is like songs too. So the song just kind of depends on the vibe.
Right.
And the nice thing about rap is any one of these pieces, if I'm playing with a band, then whatever the band is playing, I'll just adjust and I will sing it to their flow, because these are all just, these are all very neutral, right? They're written in a way that they are 4/4, they are on tempo, they're gonna just fit any beat that's 4/4. I can slow them down, speed them up, and if I do that, then they sort of take on the tune or melody of whatever the band is playing. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is actually just jam with musicians that I don't even know and just, create these songs that, have never been heard and will never be heard again, because it's like fusions of things.
Yep. So we're going to wrap up, Ari, but we've got a couple more names. Let's finish these names and then we'll say goodnight. I mean, I know by you it's really midnight. By us, it's only 9 p.m., so we got time. But thank you so much for this. Let's do a couple more names. We got Hagar.
Hagar. I'm an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. No, let's see. What is it? I'm an Egyptian concubine named Hagar, maidservant of my mistress Sarah. She's a wealthy woman, but God has deprived her of kids, and she's already 75. She couldn't have a baby, so she hatched a plan and offered me to be a wife for her man. But when he got me pregnant, she got envy. I guess she never should have messed with polygamy.
Very good. Let's do Yitzchak.
My name is Yitzchak, son of Abraham, the only one born to Sarah, my mom. She thought God was joking. She laughed when he told my dad she'd give birth at 90 years old, but here I am, standing in the Holy Land and digging wells in the sand. I've become a rich man, giving thanks in the field before the sun sets. With my beautiful wife, life's as good as it gets.
Okay. Here's an interesting one, Naama. I think that's Noach's wife.
Naama, yeah, we got Naama.
All right.
Let's see. Naama is the wife of Noah. My name is Naama. If you don't know, I'm your great grandmama. Even though I came from the family of Cain, I was parked on the ark when it started to rain. My husband and I, 3 sons and their wives, are the only humans on earth who survived. Everyone else died in a flood worldwide. We were all that was left when the waters dried.
All right, and this will be the last one. We got Dina. Sorry, we got 2 more. We got Dina and Rebecca, and that will be that. So let's start with Dina.
Right. Dina is Dina. Yo, I'm Dina. When I went to see my girlfriends in the city, I was grabbed by some jerk named Shem. He took me to his house, started touching and kissing. I told him to stop, but he just wouldn't listen. He stole my virginity, left me deflowered. It was rape. There was no escape. I was overpowered. And after all of that, he wanted me to be his wife. But my brothers put an end to that scumbag's life.
Oof. Oh boy. And then we got Rebecca. Let's end with Rivka.
Rivka.
Not that nobody says Abraham, because it's just too typical. Like let me think of Naama, but like
yeah.
Rivka.
My name is Rivka. I'm Bethuel's daughter. I was down at the well and I just drew some water for a strange old man and his whole caravan. Now he wants to take me with him back to a foreign land. He's trying to find a wife for his master's fun. Plus, he's trying to find a wife for his master's son. Plus, he's got a ton of money and it sounds kind of fun. It's a risky bet, but I'm ready and set to go marry some man who I've never even met.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much. We can all get a silent round of applause. Turn on your cameras. Get a silent round of applause for Ari.
Wow, thank all you guys for sticking around with me for so long. I appreciate it. As you can tell, I love to just ramble on and on about myself. There's nothing I enjoy more. And so to have a captive audience listening, I really appreciate it.
Well,
thank
for
you
me,
guys so much.
it was very inspiring. I hope I speak for everyone here. I mean, obviously I do because everyone's here clapping and still here after 2 hours. Nobody was keeping them captive, you know? The thing about Zoom is you can log off whenever you want. You get like instant feedback. If you weren't doing well, everybody would be leaving.
Yeah.
People don't walk out of the room if you're in the room physically because there's something rude about that. But Zoom, people will log out. But
they're like, "Oops, my computer crashed. Sorry." You'll never know one way or another.
But either way, they didn't, and we didn't, and we're here, and we loved it. And thank you very, very much for sharing your story with us. Thank you very much for sharing your music with us. We look forward to buying your albums, seeing many more of your YouTube videos on Israel, on Judaism, on history, on everything under the sun, all the characters that there are. Thank you very, very much for sharing with us. And for everyone else that's here, this has been a Soul Library. This has been the first of 10 of them that we're going to do throughout the year, one per month. Mark your calendars now for November 15th. We're going to do Rita Geil. She's a Holocaust survivor who survived as a child. She has a fascinating story about how she really had to wander from place to place and the different places she ended up. We're going to talk to her. Hopefully we'll learn from her story. Hopefully we'll be as inspired then as we are now, Ari, by your story. And have a good night, everyone. Oh, and of course, let me just end off by thanking all of our sponsors, all those that sponsored already, and all those that will sponsor. Thank you
very, very much. Have a good night.